So, what's a gradient? Gradients are kind of a new thing. They're when you put dark blocks at the bottom and light blocks at the top of your builds so that the eye is drawn from the bottom to the top, and they look really cool. But I've never really used gradients in my builds for a couple of reasons. One, because it's really complicated and I don't know how to do it. And the other is because it requires getting a lot of different materials. And as a survival builder, I usually don't have the time to actually get all of the materials that I need. Right now, though, I'm not in survival mode, so I might as well give gradients a try. So what I'm going to do is three things. I'm going to build a small scale build, I'll do a medium scale build, and then I'll do a large scale build. I'll do a non-gradient version, and I'll do a gradient version, and we'll compare them to see how they look. So let's go ahead and give this a shot and see what we end up coming up with. Okay, so here we are in the, I don't know, Minecraft building world. I guess we'll call it that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe build three different versions of the same kind of wall, a small scale, mid scale, and large scale version. And we'll do those plain, and then we'll add gradients to them to see what they look like with and without gradients. Okay, so we're going to keep it pretty simple. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with mostly these gray tones here. I do have some deep slate tiles. I go up to andesite, and I think that it's mostly for the first build going to just be a wall like this. I think maybe just like a 3x5. And without gradients, I think I'll just grab some accents here. Let's just grab some walls and some stairs, and I'll just make like a little arch, and we'll just see what things turn out as, right? So we'll just go ahead and, I've made arches like this before, so kind of keep it simple for myself. Nope, that's not the right block. That way I can kind of get an idea of what it is I'm doing here. If we do an arch like this, and then we put this here like that, and then just there like that. See, that makes a build that's actually, it's not bad looking, but as far as I know, as far as everyone keeps saying, when you make a gradient, it makes this look better. And I've never done that, so let's try it right now. So let's just copy it. We'll do right here, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think it was. I think it's just a block, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Yep. And we'll just keep going across. Oh boy. And yeah, then if we just add in our stairs, the way that we had them. Come on each side here. And over like this. And then again, wrong way, over like that, and over like that. And then one in the center here. So those look identical at the moment. But what I think I need to do is I need to just kind of take away some of the tiles and replace them with brighter looking colors. So if I just, you know what, I think that's actually slightly darker. So if I put in these instead, right, and then maybe have, I don't know, a piece here. Actually, I want to keep that one a tile. Part of the thing about gradients, I think, is making it so that they're not all the same, like they're not all on the same level. So you want like a little bit of lightness here, and then you want it to kind of go up, I think. But, it's, I don't know what I'm doing, so we'll see. So if we just add that in there, it's, it's something that is really more texturing than gradient, I feel like. Maybe I did it a little bit wrong. Let's try again. maybe what I actually need to do is instead I need to kind of think more vertically. So if we just do this, kind of like that on the bottom here, we replace this here. And then if we add in like a block here, block there, maybe that's a little bit better. I feel like on really small scales, gradients don't really work super well. Hello, house. Because they end up looking a little disjointed. So like right now, this looks very different from this, but part of the thing about gradients, and part of the reason why I shouldn't have built so close to my house, we'll fix that in a minute, is that they look better from farther away because everything starts to blend together. So as you can see here, it looks a lot, I actually do think it looks a lot better. You have just this blank wall here, whereas here, this actually seems to have some life. Plus, part of the thing about the gradient here that I'm actually doing is sometimes you have to also think about shadows. So I could actually even do a gradient in the opposite direction in this case, right? So like if I put this here instead, or even if I went even darker, like if I went with a black stone, right? Maybe some, oops, that was wrong. Grab some black stone and we put the black stone instead. That can actually add in as well so that it looks like the sun's over there. That way it kind of looks like the sun is peering down and creating a shadow in this direction. And then as you go down, you could actually have like it get a little bit lighter towards the bottom so that what you end up with is something that looks like a shadow. So that's another application of gradients that I never really thought of. But yeah, I do think that this is good for a small scale because, as you can see, this is super bland and kind of boring. Even with, like, deep slate tiles are my favorite tile, and it's kind of boring still. But this actually has a lot of life to it, and if we, just swap it back to kind of how it was, we can still get an idea of what it looks like with kind of a gradient on it. But that's the small scale. So let's go up a little bit. Let's just make something a little bit bigger than that. This time we'll actually go backwards here so that we don't have the house in the way. We're just going to do like maybe like a 10 by 10 wall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then if we go up, I think that's 10. That's not 10. There we go. We just fill all of these in. I'm not cutting because, yeah, this will be quick enough. But yeah, like if we just fill all of this in with the tiles, we can get an idea of just like the difference between a wall with a gradient and a wall with just regular old tiles at kind of like a, I guess, a medium scale build. It seems rather large, but with the builds that a lot of Minecrafters make these days, it's actually probably pretty tame. So just getting an idea of the scale here, like a 10 by 10 is not a whole heck of a lot. Oh boy, I'm making a bunch of extra stuff going on here. But yeah, so we'll finish this wall up, and then I think we can do the same thing that we did over there, maybe make some archways, and yeah, there's our 2 walls. We'll make some archways, and we will come right back. Once we're back, I will show the difference between the plane and the gradient. Okay, so here we go. 2 arches, 10 by 10 squares, uh, completely the same in every way. And let's take the one on the right again, and let's just start trying to add a gradient in. I will start, since we have the tiles once again, I'll start by making a bit of a... Oh, no, that was maybe a happy accident. Let's find out. I'll start by just making a little line of the bricks because they're a little tiny bit lighter. And we'll just maybe get rid of a few blocks here like this and just kind of add in some bits and bobs there. And yeah, then maybe we just swap over to the polished deep slate and just maybe add in a little bit here. Kind of like this, and go up, and maybe this goes here. Put that little bit there as like a little detail piece. And no, I don't think that this is working. I think that the issue that I'm having is that I don't know how exactly to make this transition totally work. So I feel like this might actually have to go back to the tiles, and then if we take away a piece or two here, let's see, we took away that one. This should probably go up like this. No, it's not looking like a gradient. It's not looking quite right. So I think I gotta play around with it some more. This is a different kind of style of building for me. I don't really quite get it. And so it's, you know, it'll take some practice for sure. And most of the builds that I do probably don't require a gradient because most of the builds that I do are fairly small scale. But if I really want to start building up my Minecraft repertoire, I probably need to learn a little bit more about gradients themselves. So if we just add this in here and then pop in a little bit there, that looks much more like a gradient at the bottom. So if we have it like this, that looks more correct. Okay. So then we transition up to the deep slate bricks. And then from the deep slate bricks, let me just add this in here. Does that work? Yes. And then from the deep slate bricks, we want to make sure to have kind of the same general idea going to the deep slate, the polished deep slate. So let's get rid of all of the tiles here and swap it out entirely for the polished deep slate. There you go. I think that that works. As you can see again, we've got the very plain looking wall, and then this one, which has it's a gradient. I think it would count as a gradient. Maybe we need some more texture in there. Maybe we need a different level of grayness, something that's kind of in between the deep slate and the stone, because we don't have any stone at the moment in here because it's too light. But if we add in a little bit of basalt, maybe that'll work. Let's see. Let's just see here. So adding in the basalt, I guess it kind of helps. Maybe makes it a little tiny bit brighter, but the problem is with the basalt is the texture on it. There's a lot of really dark notes in it, so it's really difficult to actually make that work as part of this build. So I actually kind of like the deep slate, the polished deep slate better. So we'll just add that in here back again. And yeah, I definitely like that better. What if we do polished basalt? I know that that exists. The polished basalt is a little bit kind of the same as the other basalt was. But maybe if we just sneak it in a couple little spots here. like that. Let's see, I don't like how dark it is. Okay, so I think as far as the transition goes, I think I've got a good idea on how that works. And it definitely makes a good difference. Like you can see very well that this has more character to it. So let's scale it up one more time into the large scale build, and we will see how well we can do. Maybe we'll change up the materials too, because the deep slate seems to be a little difficult. So let's give it a shot. Okay, so we have two very large identical walls. I believe they are 20 blocks wide by 30 blocks tall. And I am going to add a gradient to the one on the right, of course. And I made it a little bit darker this time. I went with blackstone, the polished blackstone. So hopefully I can use things like the deep slate tiles and the deep slate bricks and the polished deep slate to bring that gradient up, and then maybe even towards the top, I'll start adding in little bits of stone or andesite or something. We will see what happens. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, and we are back for one last look at the gradient that I made on this really large wall. So let's take a look at it and let's see how we did. So here we go. This is what we ended up with. I think I actually did a pretty decent job. This one, again, look, it's just very blank. I like the arch that I made, but other than that, it's just a lot of squares. Whereas this wall, because of the transition, your eye really is actually like drawn up. I don't even really notice that there's squares here at the bottom or in the middle. What I notice instead is the gradient just going all the way up to the top. And even at the top, even though I used the bricks for both the columns here and the wall here, I don't really notice it because of all of the other stuff that's going on. So let's get a little bit closer. I'll show you exactly what I did. I started with the polished black stone, and then I moved on to the deep slate tiles. They're very close together. I would even say that in some circumstances they might be interchangeable. But I went with putting the tiles on top because I think it's more of a muted gray. And then we moved on. We went to the deep slate bricks. And then from the deep slate bricks, we went to the polished deep slate with obviously some deep slate bricks still mixed in there. And then I originally went with the tuff here, but then I realized that that was getting too close to the arch color. So I went with gray concrete powder instead, and it seems to have worked pretty well, I do have to say. Stuck with the tuff, though, after that, and then just finished it off with some stone bricks. So that's what we ended up with. We ended up with a very gradual gradient, I'd say, and even having different textures in here. So like the polished versus just the concrete powder. In some instances, that can make it look a little bit weathered, and that can add to the build as well. So if we just like kind of take a peek at it right like this, we can kind of get it from all angles. And then of course, the big thing about gradients is the further out you move, the more everything kind of blends together. And then eventually you just kind of end up with, something that's going to look very smooth in transition. So there you go. That's gradients for you. And I think with that, we're going to leave it. So thank you very much for joining me today. We had some fun making some gradients, and let's see if I can actually figure out how to do this in survival mode in the future. But until then, we will get going, and thank you very much for joining me. My name has been Watchmaker, and I will see you next time. Bye.